Could you imagine receiving an eviction notice on the home you've owned for 30 years? That's exactly what happened to me when our Lakeside Community's HOA decided my property was violating community standards. But what they didn't realize was that I had something they desperately wanted, and I was about to make them pay double for their arrogance. Comment below with the wildest HOA rule you've ever seen, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the shocking ending. My name is Robert, and I've lived in Lakeside Estates since 1989, back when this community was first established. Back then, it was paradise. Neighbors would wave from their porches, kids played safely in the streets, and weekends were spent fishing at the lake or having barbecues with friends. The HOA existed, sure, but they focused on maintaining the community pool and organizing the annual 4th of July picnic. I bought my little lakeside cottage after retiring from the post office. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Paid for with 30 years of hard work. The house came with a small dock where I kept my fishing boat and a shed where I stored my tools. Life was simple, and that's just how I liked it. Everything changed in 2020 when Brenda Johnson moved into the community. Within 6 months, she'd rallied a group of newer residents and gotten herself elected HOA president. Suddenly, the friendly neighborhood newsletters were replaced with stern memos about property violations and community standards. My first violation notice came in March of last year. It claimed my dock was an eyesore and needed to be replaced according to new community guidelines. The replacement would cost me nearly $15,000. When I pointed out that my dock was perfectly functional and had been grandfathered in under the original community rules, Brenda dismissed my concerns. "Things change, Robert," she told me at the next HOA meeting. "We're trying to improve property values here. Some of us have invested considerable money in our homes." I noticed she didn't say our community, just our homes. That should have been my first warning. The notices kept coming. My shed was not architecturally consistent. My lawn had too many dandelions. My mailbox was outdated. Each violation came with a fine, $100 here, $250 there. By summer, I owed over $20 in fines. I tried reasoning with Brenda and the board. I showed them photos of the community from the 1990s, pointing out how my property had always looked this way. I even offered to make minor compromises, like painting my shed to match my house. None of it mattered. Brenda had an agenda, and I was apparently standing in her way. If you think this HOA is out of control now, just wait for the twist coming up. Subscribe so you never miss another instant karma story. Things escalated quickly after that. One morning, I found a bright orange sticker on my front door. "Final notice," it screamed in bold letters. The letter inside informed me that if I didn't pay all outstanding fines plus late fees, totaling nearly $50 within 30 days, the HOA would begin foreclosure proceedings. I couldn't believe it. They were trying to take my home over fines for a dock that had been there since before most of them even lived in the community. Desperate, I contacted a lawyer friend who specialized in property law. He advised me to request copies of all HOA documents, including the original bylaws and property covenants. "There might be something in there that can help you," he said. It took weeks and multiple formal requests. But finally, I received a thick envelope containing every document related to Lakeside Estates since its inception. I spent days poring over page after page of legalese, my eyes straining in the dim light of my kitchen table. Most of it was exactly what I expected: standard HOA regulations about lawn maintenance, architectural approvals, and the like. But then, tucked away in the original property deed from 1988, I found something interesting. It was a clause that had apparently been forgotten by the current HOA board. It stated that if the HOA ever forced a homeowner to sell their property through foreclosure or eviction for violations of community standards, the association was required to purchase the property at 200% of its current market value. The clause had been included by the original developers as a protection for homeowners against exactly this kind of HOA overreach. I couldn't believe my luck. Armed with this information, I requested a meeting with the HOA board. I showed them the clause and explained that if they proceeded with the foreclosure, they would have to pay me double what my home was worth, which, given the lakeside location and recent property value increases, was considerable. Brenda just laughed. "That clause is outdated and unenforceable," she said. "Courts don't uphold those kinds of provisions anymore." I wasn't so sure. My lawyer friend had confirmed that the clause was likely still valid, as it was part of the original property deed and had never been legally removed. The HOA gave me one more week to pay the fines. When I didn't, they filed the foreclosure paperwork. That's when I made my move. I hired my lawyer friend to represent me, and we countersued, citing the original deed clause. We also requested an injunction to stop the foreclosure proceedings until the matter could be resolved in court. The HOA's lawyer called us, trying to negotiate a settlement. But I stood firm. I wasn't asking for much, just the cancellation of all fines and a written apology from the board. Brenda refused. "We're not backing down," she told the local newspaper when they covered the story. "Rules are rules, and Mr. Thompson needs to follow them like everyone else." The court date was set for late October. I spent weeks preparing, gathering evidence of my compliance with the original community standards and documenting how the HOA had changed the rules without proper procedure. The day of the hearing, the courtroom was packed with my neighbors, some supporting me, others siding with the HOA. Brenda sat at the plaintiff's table looking smug, confident that her expensive lawyer would crush me. When my turn came to testify, I calmly explained the situation, showing the judge the original deed with the 200% clause. The HOA's lawyer argued that the clause was archaic and shouldn't be enforced. The judge listened carefully to both sides. Then he asked a simple question. "Has this clause ever been legally removed from the property deed?" The HOA's lawyer had to admit that it hadn't. "Then it stands," the judge ruled. "If the HOA wishes to proceed with the foreclosure, they must honor the terms of the original deed and purchase the property at 200% of market value." Brenda's face went pale. Her lawyer whispered frantically in her ear, but it was too late. The ruling stood. The HOA had 30 days to either drop the foreclosure and cancel all fines, or pay me nearly $600,000 for my home, more than double its market value. They chose to drop the foreclosure, but the story doesn't end there. Word spread quickly through the community about the 200% clause. Other homeowners who had been harassed by the HOA began demanding to see the original bylaws and deeds. What we discovered was shocking. The HOA had been systematically changing community rules without proper votes, imposing fines that weren't authorized in the original documents, and using intimidation tactics to enforce their will. Within a month, Brenda and 3 other board members had resigned. A special election was held, and new board members were elected, people who promised to uphold the original spirit of the community. At the first meeting of the new board, all outstanding fines against homeowners were canceled, and a review of all community rules was initiated to ensure they aligned with the original covenants. As for me, I kept my home exactly as it was. My dock, my shed, my mailbox, all remained unchanged, grandfathered in under the original community standards. And I added one new thing to my property, a small plaque by my front door that reads, Est 1989, still standing. In the end, this fight wasn't just about a dock or a shed or even the money. It was about standing up for what's right and protecting the place I've called home for over 30 years. HOAs have a purpose, but when they forget who they're supposed to serve, it's up to homeowners to remind them. What's the most ridiculous HOA rule you've ever heard of? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this tale of instant karma, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories about standing up to injustice. Thanks for watching.